There we go.
Okay.
All right,
Very
thank you
good.
very much.
Thank you, Colin.
All right, this is Emily Chen doing mic and video check.
Thank you very much. I can see you and I can hear you.
Hello, Chairperson Lee. Would you like to do a mic check?
Sure. How do I sound?
Perfect.
Thank you.
And this is the clerk just letting everyone know we are now live on YouTube. Thank you.
Hello, Director Adcock. Would you like to do a mic check?
Good afternoon. Just doing a mic check.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is Michael Fogelstrom, mic check.
Yes, we can hear you perfectly. Hello, Manager Mercado. Would you like to do a mic check?
Hi, yes, Susanna Mercado here, doing a mic check.
Yes, thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Hello, Commissioner Deveni. Would you like to do a mic check?
I most certainly would.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Auditor Beltran. Would you like to do a mic check?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Great.
Hello, Robin Rose. Would you like to do a mic check?
Hi, this is Steve.
Yes, this is Robin testing.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Hello, Planner Elham. Would you like to do a mic check? Hi, Ella Long. Would you like to do a mic check?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Deputy Pate. Would you like to do a mic check?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
This concludes the mic checks, and if anyone would like to test that I haven't called, please proceed.
And Vice Chairperson Chavez, I see you've joined us. Would you like to do a microphone test?
Yes, thank you.
I hear you loud and clear. Thank you very much. And it's 2 p.m. So I just wanted to make that announcement that, we're live on the internet and we're ready to go whenever you'd like to start.
Colin, can you hear me?
Recording in
I can hear you.
progress.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, Colin, and welcome everyone. We would like to go ahead and call the Finance Government Operations Committee, FGOC, a meeting to order at this time. I am Otto Lee, and I'm honored to chair the FGOC along with Vice Chair Supervisor Cindy Chavez today. With both supervisors present, we have a quorum. Moving on to the next item, agenda number 2, public comment. This item is reserved for members of the public to address the committee on any items not on the agenda. Any public who wish to address the committee on items not on the agenda should request to speak at this time. The law doesn't permit the committee action or extended discussion on any items not on the agenda except under special circumstances. If committee action is requested, the committee may place this matter on the future agenda. Statements that require response may be referred to staff for reply in writing. Clerk, would you please let us know how many speakers we have for public comment today?
There are no requests to speak.
Okay, well, I'll give them another 10 seconds
Okay.
just to make sure if anybody who might be a little bit hard getting in to get their hands up. So,
And if there are any members of the public that wish to speak, just use the raise hand feature and I can call your name if you intend to speak. We have no request to speak.
okay, thank you, Colin. And if that's the case, I'll go ahead and close the public comment area and move to the third item, which is to approve the consent calendar and changes to the committee's agenda. Items that are removed from the consent calendar will be considered at the end of the regular agenda for discussion. The committee may also add items on the regular agenda to the consent calendar. Notice to the public is that there will be no separate discussions of consent calendar items, and the recommended actions are voted on in one motion. If an item is approved on consent vote, the specific action recommended by staff is adopted. Members of the public who wish to address a committee on the consent calendar items should comment under this item. And clerk, do we have any speakers?
There are no requests to speak.
Okay, all right. Let me ask Vice Chair Chavez. I do have the following for your consideration to also add to the consent calendar, namely item number 8, which is to receive report from the Social Services Agency relating to Public Administrator, Guardian, Conservator, Urgent Needs Fund. Number 9, consider recommendations relating to Public Administrator, Guardian, Conservator, deferred fees and uncollected fees. And item number 11, receive report from the Procure Department relating a 6-month update regarding the implementation status of the management audit recommendations. And Vice Chair Chavez, do you have any comments on those or have any more to add to the consent calendar?
Just a couple, if you're comfortable with this. One is the item 6, the internal audit relative to weights and measures. Unless there was a reason you wanted to keep it off the consent calendar.
Let's see. Actually, I do have a couple of questions on that. So
No
if you don't
problem.
mind, it should
no
be pretty
problem.
quick anyways. Yeah, I don't think it'll take
Yeah,
long.
I had 1 or 2 too, but I was going to do offline, but I think that's great. And then item 7,
Mhm.
Supervisor Lee, I asked for this during the during budget, and I am still really concerned about the item, but I feel like they gave us a report, and I want to give a little more thought to, frankly, how to move it forward. It didn't really have all the information that I was interested in, but I feel like I need to maybe rethink it before I ask staff to weigh in again.
Sure. So would you want to hear it today or would you want to
I
postpone?
would just put it on consent because we're so off between me and the staff that I think it would just be better for me to start over.
Okay, all right. Why don't we just do that for 7 as well?
And then item 12, let me just look really quick. Actually, never mind. I'd like to keep that on the regular agenda.
Okay, so right now we have item number 7, 8, 9, and 11 being proposed to be put on consent. Let me go ahead and again check the clerk. Do you have any speakers on those issues? Anybody would like to speak on any item in the consent? To raise the hand.
Sorry about that. There are no requests to speak.
Okay, all right. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing part. And if that's the case, may I entertain a motion, please?
I will move the consent calendar.
Right, along with 7, 8, 9, and 11 as well. Okay, and I'll second that. And go ahead, clerk, please take the vote.
Vice Chairperson Chavez
Yes.
and Chairperson Lee.
Yes, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and move to our next item on the agenda, which is item number 4, receive report from the County Communications Department regarding communications dispatcher training and retention, technology implementation, and infrastructure, which was a referral from May 16, 2022. And here to present the item, I believe, is Tricia Adcock, the Director of County Communications. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
Chairperson Lee and Vice Chair Chavez. You are correct. At the May 16th budget workshop, we were requested to go through a study session focusing on our technology, finances, and our infrastructure needs. I have provided a ledge file, and I do have a presentation to show that coincides with what you've received. But in the interest of time, if you want to just ask questions, I'm here to answer any that you may have. And if I don't have an answer, I do have my leadership team with me. So hopefully we can get you the answers you need.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Supervisor Lee, I would like the presentation. I want to say to the staff, I thought the report was very thorough, but I'm very interested in your presentation also.
Sure.
Agreed. Yes, Ms. Adcock, would you mind go ahead and get that presentation moving? And share your screen.
We are trying. Give us 1 second.
No worries.
Are you able to see your presentation?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and start. You want to switch the page for that? Thank you. Perfect, thank you. So just to recap of what it is we do, the Communications Department's mission, as you may or may not know, is to protect the lives, property, and environment. And how we do that is by providing the vital connection between the community and emergency responders. That is by way of answering 911 calls, our emergency calls, and providing the radio dispatching to our first responders via the Sheriff's Office, County Fire, and County EMS. Our organizational core values, we have pride in our department, people, responsibility, integrity, diversity, and excellence is our always what we strive to achieve throughout the organization. Go ahead. So looking back at our recruitment efforts, COVID-19 did put a little wrench in our recruitment. But looking back at historical recruitments, we didn't want to fall into the same trap that we did back in 2008, where we stopped our recruiting efforts as the work stoppage was enforced. So if you take a look from 2019 to today, our submitted applications from our recruitment efforts kind of died or petered out at the end of 2021. Our last recruitment from 2021 had 361 applicants. The beginning of this year, now we took a downward trend to 192. That's a significant decrease. And we've kind of attributed it to COVID. We initially thought we would have more interest because people were working remote and out of jobs. But as this is not a work from home facility, we are essential services. That may have something to do with it. But nonetheless, we still put out our recruitment efforts. We've gone through looking at ways to reduce our background process. We have worked really well with ESA to put in a strict timeline for recruitment, application, background, the critical test, which is an essential function or essential part of the background process. And what ESA has reported was that when we get to the critical phase of the background process, the applicants are either not signing up or not showing up, or they end up failing. So if you look at the critical test column, it really shows a significant decrease in those that have actually even just took the test. Again, the test is off, it has to be on site, it's not virtual. So the people actually have to go and take the test. And so the thought is that COVID is playing a part of that, as people just are a little nervous to get together in close quarters. So one of the things that we're looking at to overcome that is we are working with ESA to try to see if we can do it virtually. There are other comm centers that do a virtual critical test. It is unproctored, so that is where we're finding a little bit challenging, because as a post agency, we would like the test to be proctored. Once we get to the interview phase, they're either, if they pass the critical test, either they're not reaching out to us to schedule an interview, or they don't show up, or we're also finding that they're in the process with other agencies and they get hired at another 911 center. In here. We did have, since 2020, we've hired 15, after the whole background process, interviewed and everything, we've hired 15 applicants. Since then, we have actually lost a few. And the reason we're actually seeing that we're losing candidates now is because they either get hired by another agency or they move out of the county and the commute is a problem. They go to another center that has a higher salary. And so that kind of prompted us to look at a salary study. Can you go to the next slide, Brenda? So back to our training, I'm sorry. So the training and infrastructure, our entry-level training has also gone through some changes over the last few years. Our academy has been reduced to 8 weeks. It used to be 10 to 12. And during COVID, when we were working from home, initially we were a little worried that we wouldn't be able to hold our academies because they're in person in classroom. So we had to pivot at the beginning of COVID, and we found a way to do our in-class training virtually. It took a little bit of time, but we were able to get all of our applicant trainees computers. We had to change a lot of our material to computer-based. We did a lot of it on Teams and Zoom. And we found that it actually worked out well because it was giving them more time to absorb the material with a longer academy. Now that we're back in the building, we've gone back to our 8 weeks of training. After the 8 weeks of classroom training, they go 16 to 20 weeks on the floor with OJT, on-the-job training with a trainer. That is also being reduced as a result of implementing emergency protocols. So we used to be just emergency medical dispatching protocols. Over the last 3 years, we've also added fire dispatching protocols and police protocols. And that's really streamlined our call taking by providing the dispatchers with a script, and they no longer have to rely on their on-the-job experience to get through a 911 call. The protocols provide all the questions for them. And it's a much more easier to learn process. One of the questions from the budget workshop was how we would accommodate training in our new facility that we hope to move into in the next few years. Our current training room has 12 workstations where we can train a full academy. We have stretched it to 14 by adding laptops. it's a little tight, but we were able to make that happen with a larger classroom. The Silver Creek facility actually is double that capacity, and it has 24 spaces for 24 students. So that is something that we wanted to make sure our new site had the capability of doing. So over the years, we've had a lot of different projects, and filling our vacancies has always been a priority. I've been in this department for over 21 years, and I hate to say it, but we have never been fully staffed my whole career here. I think that we are in a better place than we were, say, 10 years ago, but we're not really where I would like us to be. So my focus is going to be moving forward as the new director would be definitely continue on our recruiting and filling these vacancies. One of the biggest problems we have right now is our mandatory overtime. And no matter how you configure the shifts or how you move bodies, the only solution to reducing it is hiring more staff. So we really are putting a lot of focus on recruitment, outreach, and filling these vacancies. Right now, we're at about 26% vacancy, and that's because we just lost a couple of more employees just this last week who were in training. It was due to their failure to progress. It is a hard job. It's a lot of information. It's a stressful job, and it's not cut out for everybody. So we really take a lot of care in selecting the right candidate and giving them all the tools that they need to be successful. Go ahead. So as I said earlier, we did initiate a salary study. The hope is that we will provide a more attractive salary. After we did some initial review of the other communication centers in our county, there are other centers who have a starting salary that is more than county communications. And we are unique in that we dispatch for 3 disciplines. We dispatch for police, fire, and medical. And the other comm centers either just do police or police and fire. There's just a few that do all 3. As part of our retention efforts, we are also promoting employee wellness. It's something that we've continued to promote. We have done a few sessions with County Wellness Department. They've come on site, provided some training and support for our dispatchers. We have a critical incident stress management team that has been in place for a number of years. They provide stress relief for any of our dispatchers who seek it, who need it. And usually that comes from handling stressful calls or incidents. For instance, the VTA shooting was very, we had a few staff that were heavily impacted by that. So the CISM team provided support for not just those individuals, but individuals who may have not even been working, but that tragedy sparked something, a memory from another call that they were involved in. So the CISM team is always available for our staff to get them through those stressful events. We are also in the beginning phases of implementing a peer support team. And that is where a few of our staff members are key peer supports for each other and to help with anything work-related or their personal life, anything that their family may need, because it's also focusing on the family of our dispatchers. It's stressful for them as well. Another avenue we're looking at is a mobile wellness app. It's through a company that provides 24/7 support through an app on your phone, on a smartphone, and each person will be able to have their own personal training sessions. There's classes, and it looks like a really good tool that is being used by other communication centers and law enforcement agencies as well. We're hoping to get that on board, hopefully sometime this year. And as always, to help with retention, we're looking at better shift coverage. Our call volume is changing. What used to be the higher call volume periods of time would be the late swing shift, early mids. It's now spread across the board. So we're really looking at different shift configurations with our current staff to try and reduce some of the overtime as best as we can. This slide just shows when we do lose some of our dispatchers or applicants during exit interviews, these are some of the reasons why they're leaving. For those that are lucky enough to be at their retirement age, they're retiring. They've fulfilled their career and are ready to move on to their next chapter. In the last, since 2019, 10 people we've lost through probationary release. Sometimes that happens when they're in the academy, and sometimes that happens when they're on the floor in OJT. And it's just that they determine that this isn't the job for them. Their life balance and work balance isn't at a level where they can be in this type of environment. They have small children. So they decide this isn't the job for them. There's also, as I said, performance during the academy, OJT, personal reasons. They have a long commute, they move, they buy a house and out of the county, and the commute to Santa Clara County is a tough one, especially when we do have overtime. So they're spending 2 hours commuting. They're here for 10 to 12 hours, and then they have a two-hour commute home. That's a lot of time to be on the road. And then sadly, we lose some to other comm centers. So since 2017, we've been in the process of upgrading our Cad system. Our current Cad system is over 20 years old. It's DOS based. It's kind of outlived its use. It is still a good system, but I think with technology changes and our customers and our users, our user agencies, they would benefit more from a off-the-shelf Cad system. So we've gone through the acquisition. We've been working on implementation. The system was supposed to go online earlier this year. There was some delays with the mapping system. Those have been overcome, and the map is stable and solid. So now we are finally moving forward. We had some configuration changes that we were incorporating, and now we're back on track, and we're looking to go live with our new Cad in May of next year. So for this year, we have still one more academy. We're looking for our academy for October is going to have 5 applicants, hopefully. We have an academy, 3 academies next year, and that's been our goal, to at least have 3 academies every year. Again, it just as an ongoing effort to bring new dispatchers on board. We are expanding our outreach, looking for other ways to announce that we are recruiting. We've really amped up our social media. Our partner agencies have also done a great job in supporting us and getting the word out that we are hiring. We're looking at other avenues. We're going to start having recruiting tables at San Jose Giants, some job fairs coming up in the near future. So we really are trying to get out there to show the community that this is a good job, it's a fulfilling career, and hopefully get some more interest. And we're here to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. I certainly do have some questions, but I'll go ahead and ask if Vice Chair Chavez, would you like to hear in case there's any public comments before we ask the questions?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, let's do that. Colin, do we have any public who would like to ask any questions today?
There are no requests to speak. Oh, wait a minute, we do. Oh, coming and going. We do have one request to speak. Sorry about that.
Okay, let's set it for 2 minutes.
All right, set it for 2 minutes. The next speaker is Irvish Mehta. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute. You will have 2 minutes to speak, and the timer will start when you begin speaking.
Thank you very much to Board of Supervisors as well as the respective county communication staff. I think within the capacity as serving to the city, county, and states respectives, and as well as it is equally important that as a part of a communication channel, the first most point of a contact the dispatcher has to understand as a part of a training is that what is the emergency of the caller that is being introduced. So when any dispatcher is being taking the call, there are certain codes they are supposed to be assigned as a part of a communication that, what is the level of emergency of a code that can be interpreted. Sometimes most of the communication that is being done to the dispatcher, that is either the questions to be asked whether that's something emergency or not. What if the dispatcher is being asked to just for having a consultation with the commander on the post, or having a conversation with the chief of the staff? Or what if the conversation is to route the call to a community person? At that particular point of time, the yes or no question just becomes inevitable, because most of the calls which are non-emergency but under certain criteria and under certain jurisdiction, they need to be handled in a way which is a false positive emergency. So I think, there are, as a part of a better communication system, they need to be aware about the different kind of a communication codes, as well as the overhauling the procedure to take the communications, and as well as identify the level of code and transport those calls to a respective officer based upon the emergency or the urgency, and define the priority of those calls. Also, on the contrary, the dispatchers are the most important part of the call communication, the first responders on the call. So they also need to be aware about the training about the different acts, and which law enforcement specialization officer the call needs to be routed to. Thank you very much for consideration of comments.
And that concludes our request to speak.
Okay, thank you, Colin. I do have a few questions, but Vice Chair Chavez, do you have some questions you want to go first?
Oh, thank you. I first I wanted to say I really appreciated the staff report and the thoroughness, and I really appreciate the other point that Tricia, that you raised, just about how this has always been a challenging field to hire for and getting ahead of where we were. And I'm excited about having a bigger training space. It sounds like you're trying to be really flexible on the training and how you're offering it. A couple of questions that I was wondering about is on the salary survey study, what's the estimated time when that will be returned back to you? And if the board needs to take action, that it would come to the board for updates and changes?
Supervisor Chavez, this is John. Excuse me, this is John Mills. I can respond to that process question. We received the request from the department at the end of July, and it has gone through our internal review process and been assigned to an HR analyst. Typically, an analyst takes a couple of weeks to review the data submitted by the department, and then also confirm the data and seek any additional data needed from external jurisdictions and complete their analysis and write their report. At that point, we would submit the report to the department to review. And then once the department has had an opportunity to review the report and agrees with our findings, then we submit it to the union. And then we meet and confer with the union if there is any recommendations. And if there's not any recommendations, we still meet with them and discuss it. And once the meet and confer process concludes, we would bring it to the board. So if everything went smoothly, I would hope that we could bring a recommendation to the board maybe in October.
Oh, that's great news. Just to follow up to that, one concern I have about the way the analysis that we use to determine the how we pay people, that I think is something that's just overlooked, is the integrated nature of the responsibilities that we have for folks in our own call center relative to others. I've taken tours of others, and they have, medical dispatch and then police dispatch. And I also think that with 988, that we're going to be looking at really helping our dispatchers understand when something can be dispatched to another location. I think that's going to be further into the future. But what I don't understand is how you do an appropriate assessment of the skill sets that we're requiring, because it seems like such a higher skill set than most other departments. And so both in terms of pay, in terms of training, and then the other thing is whether or not we're able to, John, be more assertive and aggressive with candidates that we see that have that we think are going to make it through the process. If there's a way to identify them so that we're, able to, frankly, to beat others to the punchline.
Yeah, specifically to the earlier part of your comments, we would definitely, as part of this salary survey analysis, look at the scopes of work of our own dispatchers versus the other jurisdictions that were referenced in the presentation who don't have as wide a scope of responsibility, and we would take that into consideration in terms of any salary recommendation. So that will definitely be part of this study.
John,
I know.
John, just to inquire a little bit more into that, when I look at this, and I'm presuming it's the scale we have in front of us, and that at some point we did a salary study some time ago. What I am concerned about is that that's not reflected already in our, or doesn't appear to be reflected in the salary study that in the salaries that we're seeing in this. Now, I recognize this is a piece of salary. It doesn't have benefits and all of that. A piece of overall compensation. But what I'm really asking is, and maybe I'll just make this more declarative, John, I would be very interested in understanding the tools we use to analyze this, because what I am concerned about is that we're going to have a higher rate of folks not making it through the process because the demands are so much higher than perhaps they are for other departments. So what I would want to see evidence of is that we took that into account. And by the way, I also think that's probably a cost savings to us to have individuals that are multi-trained, so that you don't have disparate dispatch centers in the same place that have a whole different management structure, a whole different training structure, like all of those things that are cost savings to our institutions, because we are looking for a very refined set of skills. So when the process happens, one of the things I'm going to be really interested in is that analysis and how that analysis is integrated into how we are going to approach this. I don't have an answer to it, John. It's just a genuine concern.
Yeah, no, and I definitely hear your concern, Supervisor, and that will be part of our analysis. I think what you might be referencing in the transmittal is salary data that was compiled by the department just based on looking at other jurisdictions and the hourly rates. But our analysis would certainly take into consideration what you're describing in terms of the higher expectations, the sort of wider scope of responsibility for dispatching for multiple areas. We look at the specific job descriptions of each agency to see if they're comparable or not. And we look at what's required to qualify for the different positions, way beyond just looking at hourly rates.
Right. And what I'm interested in is there a delineation based on the total responsibilities? And I understand what you're saying about job descriptions. I also think if it's necessary, we might want to give our staff an opportunity that are doing the analysis to take tours of other facilities outside of our own, because it's very different. I mean, it's a very highly skilled crew that we're looking for. But thank you for that. One other, just if I could, John, did you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think that about covers it. But yeah, I think that your concerns will be addressed and borne out in the analysis that accompanies the salary study.
Thank you. And probably too, I mean, one other thing is just the emerging technologies that will require us to have, again, more skill, not less for these positions. But I appreciate the point that you're raising as well. You know, one other thing, and this may be more of a question for Dr. Smith. We are investing in a recovery center, and I would be very interested in making sure that as that recovery center gets designed, it's designed with all of our workforce, particularly our frontline employees that deal with a lot of trauma. And I would consider that our communications folks here, also our the comms folks who handle the hotline for children as well. And what I would be interested in at a future date, as that recovery center is getting, more fully fleshed out, and a report back on how you see that possibly supporting workers across the county, in particular, public safety workers. I don't know if Dr. Smith is still on with us. And Dr. Smith, if you're speaking, you're on mute. Well, he may have stepped away. Supervisor Lee, can we go to your questions and then see if Dr. Smith comes back?
Sure. Yeah. Let me go ahead and ask my questions first. So first of all, yes, Ms. Ashcroft, thank you for your team. That was a very helpful presentation, and got a chance to really study the numbers. And I have the same concern basically with Vice Chair Chavez regarding the salary issue of how we can incentivize to make sure that our folks are being properly compensated. Without going into much detail, other than just looking at the chart, you could tell that our lowest communication dispatcher one started at 79,000, which is much lower than any jurisdiction listed, like Palo Alto, San Jose, Santa Clara, Los Altos, Milpitas, Campbell, Sunnyvale. I think all of them at least started, I think the lowest I've seen Sunnyvale is 86, and San Jose as well, and then everything like starts higher. So right off the bat, I could see that disparity in terms of our rate, that hopefully through this study that we could get that adjusted to get it more properly reflected to the salary around the jurisdiction. Number one. Number two is because the skill set, as she said, is police, fire, and medical. So we definitely.
Supervisor, you wanted me?
Oh, sorry, Dr. Smith. I after Supervisor Lee is done with his questions, I'll come back right back to you. Thank you.
Say that again. I'm having trouble with my audio.
As soon
Yeah,
as.
so let me finish my questions here, and then after that, we'll ask Vice Chair Chavez to ask a question for you, Dr. Smith. If you just hold tight for a second. Thank you. So to me, it really seems that the salary ranges that we're dealing with here is clearly very, very low compared to the neighboring jurisdiction, number one. And ultimately is that we serve close to 2 million people, right? None of the jurisdiction handles like San Jose at most is 1 million. So certainly we have a far larger population served as well. So for all those reasons, I really look forward to getting the salary adjustment done in the report. I think you mentioned October, right, in the SecOp?
I believe that is what Mr. Mills said. Yes, October.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah. So let's hope to get those numbers back so that we could make our incentives to be more in line with the cost of living, especially with inflation, where it's at. I would imagine our numbers should be adjusted quite significantly. Number one. Second thing is regarding the numbers, and I just want to go over the numbers with you on page 2 of 7 in terms of the folks. It's really fascinating to see how many applications we get. We get 300-400 applications, and at the end of the day, we're really talking about hiring only like single-digit number of people, right? So the percentage there you show is like 1.27% that's hired. I'm actually less concerned about the number of applications. I'm looking really more toward the points where you have completed a background check, right? So there you have like about 4.7 days, so like 5% of the folks who submit applications go through that got the background check through. But to me, is fascinating is that from the background check completion, that number to the number hired is still significantly lower. So I just want to ask the question, assuming they pass the background check, right? Say like on the list here, you have 23 in 2101, only 6 got hired. So that's like 1/4. Or 2102, you have 9, only 3 hired. And then 15, 2103, that passed background check, only 4 is hired. Maybe if you could explain why is there such a huge disparity? Because this is somebody who went through, passed the test, right? Passed the interview, passed the background check. But how come the number that we actually hire is so much less?
Thank you, Chairperson Lee. That's a good question. Because we are a post agency, we're certified by the post department. We have a certain criteria that we have to follow through the background process. And so that's where we end up losing a lot of applicants is because they don't meet the post criteria.
So when they say completed background check, those numbers just, that doesn't mean they passed the post criteria. It just means that they went through the background check. They might have still failed the post criteria, right?
Yes, absolutely. Correct.
Right. So and that basically is the last thing, right? Is the post criteria. That's the last gate, should we say, or last criteria. That's what a lot of folks drop through, which again, I'm definitely not advocating lowering our standards, right? That's absolutely not what we want. So my question actually is, if that's the case we are dealing with, because since we know that less than half the people that did the background check make it through the post criteria, it's really becoming a logistic issues, right? Is that we really need to get more people to go through the process, to be interviewed, to make it to go through the test. Because right now, truly, to me, it's really a logistical issue, right? I mean, you look at all the numbers, like what's unfortunate, right? Like the last 2 cycles, 2201, 2202, what we see was that only 5 people, right, submitted and went through and passed and went through the background check, which is really a small number, right, to start with. And then when you drop down to after post, when you got 2 people per cycle, and these numbers are far lower than what will be needed in order for us to catch up with the 26% vacancy that we have. So I guess my bigger question would be, besides the salary, what are we able to do to increase the number of folks that would go through the process and get through background check? I guess that's my main question.
That's a good question. I think what we have learned from the past is that we need to have ongoing recruitments and ongoing initiating through the process. So we are constantly opening our recruitment, closing it, going through the process. And so that's why I had mentioned in the presentation, we have worked out a very strict timeline with ESA, and they have done a really good job with getting us through the recruitments, open the recruitment, and we've been able to extend the time open recruitment. We've gone almost a month where we've left it open. And so we're just ongoing hiring. It's just getting as many as we can in. We do have some limitations with our FTEs based on how many we can get.
About county recruitment when Otto was done. John made some comments right before.
Yeah, there's some background noise here. Yeah, thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Ms. Echo, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying there is some limitations with our vacancies because we're only given so many people on a list for the backgrounds based on how many vacancies we have. But we found that if we continue recruitment, we can still get through those hurdles as well. So that's our goal.
Right, and given the high attrition rate, I really think we need to aim higher, right? I think whatever numbers we're working on right now, I think we practically need to at least double the numbers that we plan on the FTEs in order to just match to cover up some of the vacancies, make up the shortfall that we have, plus attrition, plus retirement. So I would just say that if there's any type of budget limitations, please let us know, Ms. Adcock, because if that's what's needed, that we could adjust on the FTE and the budget side in order to allow you to put more people through the training or application cycle. I at least 1 of 5 will be very strongly supportive of that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. There's also a question regarding the integration of the new system. It's not expected until next year in May 2023. Can you provide us what type of steps might have been taken on this?
I believe you're referring to our new CAD
Yes.
system.
Yeah, correct.
Right. So we've been in the implementation process with our new CAD system with our vendor since 2020. We've gone through, again, COVID has really made this a unique experience for us. The vendor has not been on site as much as we would have normally expected, but we've still found ways to do this remotely, virtually. It's been a long process. Our system, being from the 70s, isn't easy to just take what we have now and put it in a new system. So we've kind of had to rebuild what we currently have to even meet the needs of an off-the-shelf system. So it's been a long process. There's been a lot of workshops working with the vendor. GIS team has been engaged, working on the mapping function. It's just finally gotten to a point now, after a few delays, that we are on a forward path progressing to implementation go live on May of next year. All that's left is we've scheduled our functional testing that's going to take place with the vendor at the end of this month. We will start working on training our trainers, training our system admins, and then at the beginning of January, we're going to be training our dispatchers on the new system.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hadcock. That's very helpful. And that's all questions I have for now. Vice Chair Chavez, why don't you go ahead and pose the questions again for Dr. Smith at this time. Okay, please.
Thank you, Chairperson. Supervisor Lee, I just wanted to make a follow-up on the point you raised. I think that the point you're raising around hiring ahead makes a lot of sense for a department that's never hit its full capacity. And so I just want to reinforce that I actually think that when the salary adjustments or the salary survey is completed, that the same day that action comes to the board, we ought to institute a hire ahead for this particular department. And in particular, because one of the things that I find concerning is using the numbers of people in our academy as filled positions and I understand why we do that as a budget process, but given how many people don't make it through that process, it really doesn't make sense. And then the other is, I'm sure Dr. Smith and Mr. Mills will remember that for the Child Advocacy Network, that's our hotline for our child abuse hotline. That hotline that department has a hire ahead program because we were having the same problems, not to the degree that Trisha's team has, but I think that when we take the action to receive the report, that should be part of the motion direction to request a hire ahead program for this department, that it come back that same day. So my question really to Dr. Smith was that I was very interested in making sure that we're having a robust discussion with key departments around how we're using the recovery center, because it does seem like this department in particular, like the sheriffs or, fire and others that county comm, along with probably the children's advocacy, the children's abuse hotline should also be included in the development and therefore the utilization of the recovery center. And wondered if that's something that you could include as part of the work plan as that's being developed to make sure these employees are engaged in that.
Sure, we'll be happy to do that.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. I would include that both your hire ahead idea, Otto, and the recovery center be included in the October report back on the salary setting for this department.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair Chavez. Yeah, thank you. And I certainly would second it. And my other comment basically is, given the importance of the communications function for dispatching for the 2 million people in Santa Clara County, this is to me one of the only departments that I would rather have too many people working there than having too few, because of the serious nature of what we're dealing with. And we're doing just a normal day-to-day. If there's a crisis, obviously we'll need to have more than the normal FTEs allotted in order to cover the shortage. And so, when the big one hits, we know that the big earthquake is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We certainly can't have this type of personnel numbers in order to meet the need of our county to keep us safe. So for all those reasons, I'm strongly asking that whether we go hire ahead or just hire extra in order to make sure that the training pipeline is more than abundant in order to hopefully catch up to the vacancy rate. That's, like you said, Ms. Adcock, you've been there for decades and we've never really been able to meet the fully. So we need to definitely fix that ASAP. So thank you. And without further comments, let's go take a vote.
That'll be Vice Chairperson Chavez.
Yes.
And Chairperson Lee.
Yes, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And moving to item number 5, which is receive a special study of county debt from Management Audit Division and provide direction regarding audit recommendations. And I believe we have, is it Cheryl Soloff from our Management Audit Division providing us our report here?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And I'm here with Dan Goncher, who oversaw this project. And you may remember that we had, we presented on it at the last meeting and with Amanda Guma, but she is not available today. So I can provide a quick overview. Basically, the report had 5 findings, 16 recommendations. 4 of the recommendations were directed to the board itself, and of the remaining dozen recommendations, half were agreed to directly, and the remaining 6 were partially agreed to. And just to provide a brief overview, the first section addressed transparency and oversight, and we noted that the proposed debt issuances do not come to this committee, and there is no debt advisory or oversight committee to review potential financings, and so we had recommended consideration of those factors, and then the debt management policy and county performance. Compared to the county's peers, the county has fewer controls on debt levels and a higher debt burden across a variety of metrics. Section 3 addresses lease revenue bonds, where the county does not have a control in place to constrain the issuance of lease revenue debt. And because lease revenue debt costs more, we recommended establishment of thresholds and guidelines before using those debt instruments. And then we identified potential need for additional training and to update and expand internal policies and procedures to ensure adequate training. And then in terms of the use of financial advisory services, our recommendation was to, in future bids for debt issuance advisory services, to ensure that the schedules of fees are more transparent. So that's the high level overview, and we're happy to answer questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you very much, Cheryl. And let me ask Vice Chair Chavez, do you have any questions, or would you want me to see if there's any public who would like to speak on this first?
Public first would be great.
Great. All right. Colin, anybody in this public would like to speak on this item?
There are no requests to speak.
Okay, go and close the public hearing. And go ahead, Vice Chair Chavez, you have any questions on this?
Thank you. I just wanted to say to all the folks who got involved in this, thank you. I thought it was a very thoughtful back and forth, and this is a really important body of work. You know, part of the reason I requested that this go on the management auditor's work plan is that, you know, we're having discussions now about our debt capacity, and the importance of the issue as we're looking at what we're going to build, when we're going to build it, and all of that. So this was very helpful in terms of helping me understand better what opportunities there are to strengthen our policies. You know, just a couple of points, and I don't know, Dr. Smith, if you or John want to respond to this, but the finance agency is recruiting right now for the controller treasurer position and the countywide chief financial officer position. Am I accurate about that?
We're not recruiting for the countywide CFO actively. We're waiting on that to see how things progress at this point with the other recruitments.
And is that, Jeff, is that because you don't need to fill that position, or because you're looking to see if you can balance out kind of strengths and weaknesses between the two positions?
Number two.
Okay. I think, you know, what I would just want to say is I think it's going to be really critical that the positions be filled. And I think for Margaret and others, you know, just the workload must be tremendous, just recognizing how large our budget is. So, and by the way, Margaret didn't tell me to say that, Dr. Smith. I just saw her smiling, but that I did that on my own. So what I would like to recommend, Supervisor Lee, unless you have more comments or questions, is that we move forward with the recommendations that the administration has partially agreed to, as long as the county executive can let us know and confirm that they will, and that they intend to fully implement the recommendations that they've agreed to.
Yes, thank you. I certainly do agree with that. And I also do have some questions and some recommendations I want to go over as well. So we might be able to try to add it all into one fell swoop. Would that work?
Right. That would be really helpful. And yes, and also I would like to just ask if James or anybody from the legal team has any feedback as well. But Supervisor Lee, perhaps I'll just let them know that that's what I'm interested in, and wait till you've completed your questions.
Sure. Okay, that's great. All right. So on recommendation 1.1, it talks about establishing the membership of the Administrative Capital Committee. And it looks like from Cheryl, your team has noted that the County Council should be included in this group. The administration response said that that might not be necessary. So maybe I could ask Dr. Smith or from the admin team, why you think the County Council will not be needed in all these meetings?
Well, with administrative committees, we invite people who are needed during the particular committee for that particular agenda. So we're not saying, you know, County Council won't be invited. We're just saying that they don't necessarily need to be a standing member.
Oh, okay, so they are not standing member of committee, but their attendance certainly, they are invited to attend as they see fit. Okay.
Yeah, County Council's pretty much invited to everything.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure that is still the case, so that's fair. And I just want to check County Council, is that something that you agree with under that circumstance, that you don't need to be, your office doesn't need to be an active standing member of these committee, every committee, correct?
I don't believe we need to be active standing members of every committee, but we certainly take Dr. Smith's comment that we are invited to attend, and we would attend.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And I do want to ask to see if we could get a report back at the FGOC in the September meeting on the updates regarding the establishment of this proposed Administrative Capital Committee, including the formal steps necessary to establish committee with some type of a proposed timeline. On recommendation 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, they had to do with amending the rules of the Board of Supervisors to include review of the proposed debt issuances, establishing the Debt Affordability Advisory Committee, and modifying the currently existing board policy 4.7.1 to require the finance agency to conduct an annual review of the county's debt affordability model. So as a matter of procedure, I'm just requesting that the recommendations, these on 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, also forwarded as items of discussion during the September 13th Board of Supervisors meeting. And I will also like to ask the report back from County Council to review the recommendations 1.6, 1.7, 1.8 to provide the next steps to the board for any type of potential for implementation. For recommendation 2.1 regarding revising the board policy 4.7.1 to incorporate all the elements recommended by the GFOA as a best practice for debt management practices. I would like to request a report back from staff to provide this committee an update once you get a chance to review these GFOA elements and recommendations around which specific GFOA elements are feasible for the county to also implement. Recommendation 3.3 is to do with potentially supporting or sponsoring legislation to lower the state's voter approval threshold for the GO general obligation bonds from the 2/3 to 55%, similar to what is required of the school districts. And so similar to the earlier recommendations, I would like to see if this recommendation 3.3 get forwarded for discussion to the full board on September 13th as well. Would these be acceptable to you, Supervisor Chavez?
Yes.
Thank you. And along with that, I guess I have a motion, entertain a motion from you to incorporate all that and also your questions and your comments earlier.
Yeah, I think they're aligned. Thank you.
Okay, very good. And then I'll go and second that. If no further comments, I'll just take the vote.
Vice Chairperson Chavez.
Yes.
And Chairperson Lee.
Yes, as well.
Thank you.
Okay, and then normally we move to item number 6, but I would like to request a 5-minute recess real quick for a bio break. So if you don't mind, I'll just take a 5-minute recess. I'll be back at 3:10. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's now 3:10 p.m. Vice Chairperson Chavez and Chairperson Lee are both in attendance. Just wanted to note that for the record.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Catherine, we'll go ahead and continue of our FGOC meeting today. We are now on item number 6, which is to receive report from the Office of County Executive, Internal Audit Division relating to the internal audit report. Consumer and Environmental Protection Agency, Division of Weights and Measures. Let's see, I think to present today, we have Robin Rose from the Internal Audit Division.
Hi, good afternoon. I have my colleague with me, Albert Beltran Jr., who does have a brief presentation if you're available to listen. And we also have management from SEPA Weights and Measures as well to answer after the presentation.
Sure, please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is the screen showing, Robin? Is the presentation showing?
Not yet, just you. Oh, there we go.
Final share button. There we go. Okay.
We now see the best kept secret. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so hello again for the record. My name is Albert Beltran Jr. I'm a certified internal auditor within the Internal Audit Division within the Office of CEO. Today, I'm presenting a few slides from my assurance audit of the Division of Weights and Measures, which is within the Consumer and Environmental Protection Agency. The words in red came up a few times in our audit, so they are really meant to highlight that many of us may not know much about the impact of weights and measures. So I hope this presentation interests you enough to learn more about them, since we found that best kept secret is not a title Weights and Measures wants to keep. In simple terms, the work of weights and measures inspectors involves testing scales, liquid dispensers, utility meters, and other measurement devices to ensure consistency between prices that businesses advertise and the prices consumers are charged to help ensure customers get what they pay for. However, the real impact of weights and measures is much more impassioned. They protect consumers and the financial resources of families, and they protect businesses to ensure fairness in a competitive marketplace, particularly for minority small business owners. And by its very nature, the work of weights and measures benefits the most disadvantaged members in our community as they feel the biggest impacts from overcharges. One quick data point we found on 2 non-California government websites is that a well-functioning weights and measures program can save a family between $300 to $600 per year. Weights and Measures was selected from a list of prior year projects based on the annual risk assessment. The scope of what we audited included inspections, processes, and equipment of the Division of Weights and Measures under the county sealer. We limited our review to fiscal year 19-20 and the first half of 21. And just for clarity, Joe Davini is the county sealer and agricultural commissioner. However, the ag side of operations was not in scope. During our audit planning phase, we noted some factors that significantly impacted weights and measures operations over the period of our audit. Measurement standards are set at the federal level, and basic testing procedures are generally consistent from the federal government to state and to all counties within California, so generally that inspections are well standardized. The California Department of Measurement Standards certifies most equipment used for testing devices and products in the county. And although we were not surprised to find DSW assignments affecting operations, we did observe that staffing was so impacted that it affected how we approached our audit. Upon concluding our planning phase, we decided upon these audit objectives. Given that staffing was so impacted, we confirmed our current objectives of weights and measures operations and how management monitors staff activities towards meeting those objectives. During our audit, we found that SEPA was an early participant in the county's equity training efforts, and that weights and measures management is willing to implement concepts of equity more fully. And we were initially interested in how inspections equipment is maintained by management and staff, but because that equipment is certified by the state, that equipment was not the primary risk to operations. What was known is that IT systems are out of date and evaluation of new IT systems are underway. So we primarily evaluated IT for inspections equipment. We requested out and reviewed numerous documents, interviewed management, and attended field inspections. But documents are a significant way we independently validate what we observe in the field or what was said during interviews. And while we received many detailed explanations to our questions during interviews, our findings and recommendations are substantially related to lack of documentation. We have 4 findings, all of which management has agreed with. More details on our findings are in the report, but I will highlight a few key points in the presentation. Our recommendations directly address the findings, and while they may appear simple, the recommendations details were designed for clarity, feasibility, and value add. They are based on currently available county resources and take a management level approach. They also consider management experiences and feedback to ensure buy-in, but at no point do we vacate our professional evaluations and opinions. Ultimately, Weights and Measures Management retains responsibility and discretion over if, how, and when recommendations are implemented. With that, I present finding 1. Our first finding is that we were not provided with documented goals, organizational objectives, performance metrics, etc., specific to county operations. The monthly and annual reports they submit to the state were more descriptive output data rather than trend analysis or efficiency measures. And the MOU between the state and the California Counties Agricultural Commissioners and Sealers Association was more focused on cooperation than inspections level performance. Management did have daily priorities for inspector assignments. Consumer complaints are their first priority. Second priority is new business and installations. Third priority, regularly scheduled existing businesses and inspections. And their fourth priority is other devices as required by law or ordinance. Again, however, this list did not appear to be on file or in writing. So recommendation 1.1 is to establish specific weights and measures objectives and performance metrics. We specifically suggested they review equity, safety, IT efficiency, and community engagement in those objectives. Recommendation 1.2, once those specific objectives and metrics are established, management should regularly update the new SEPA director and the board committee they report to increase awareness of their work and help overcome the notion of best kept secrets. Finding 2, Weights and Measures Management does train inspectors. However, this training is primarily on-the-job, one-to-one training in the field based on an individual senior level inspector experience. We asked to review documents related to training expectations or employee evaluations, but at that time, none were provided. And as I mentioned earlier, federal and state agencies admittedly have a, quote, heavy hand in weights and measures operations. For example, the state publishes inspections handbooks, which contain required procedures for inspections. However, those procedures are necessarily generic because they are designed for use by all counties in a variety of weights and measures offices. So recommendation 2.1 is to establish a more documented training program that includes policies and procedures for inspections, performance, and equipment maintenance, including an emphasis on safety. For finding 3, evidence we reviewed included consumer complaint forms, specifically data collected on those forms, business owner data and coding in the database. We inquired about public outreach efforts and materials, such as the notice to consumer sticker. The board resolution on equity we used as criteria to establish the finding. And we worked directly with the new Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging in developing an appropriate recommendation. Consumer complaint and business owner data are more related to finding 4 and recommendation 4. So for finding 3, we primarily focused on the community engagement since that was a significant concern. This led to recommendation 3.1, review their consumer outreach activities and make a specific note for 2 outreach items, since these are the 2 primary methods of consumer engagement. Recommendation 3.2, this recommendation is really about weights and measures operationalizing equity within their everyday activities. Again, we did observe that management appears to be fully on board with implementing equity, especially given their prior equity training. So here, we clarified with the Equity Office on current and future opportunities to operationalize equity. Our last finding 4, much of what we tried to evaluate during our audit was tied to IT in some way, from the complaint forms to equity data analysis to state reporting requirements. We agreed with what management already knew, that their IT systems are in need of significant functionality upgrades. We did find a major challenge for Weights and Measures has been finding an adequate vendor to supply appropriate software. Since they were in the very early stages of evaluating new IT systems, recommendation 4.1 is that management should develop a user needs business requirements document to objectively evaluate new IT systems. And 3 specific functions we highlighted with management were integrating complaint forms into their new database, integrating publicly available universal product code databases, and integrating third-party service agent notifications. So in summary, we try to be very intentional with our recommendations. We recommend that management establish specific performance objectives, that management establish standardized training to align to those objectives, that management fully leverage equity throughout their objectives and training programs. And finally, we recommend that management evaluate and acquire IT systems that support future objectives, training and equity needs. With that, I want to give a very big thank you to Joe Davini, Stan Toy, and the inspectors for their quick responses and transparency throughout the entire audit. And I'd also like to thank the Equity Office, Procurement Office, TSS, and ISO for their detailed feedback on our recommendations and offering specific resources for our recommendations. And my personal thanks to the internal audit team for their support throughout the entire audit. So now we invite any questions about the report and invite Weights and Measures management to contribute as appropriate.
Thank you very much for the report. And Ms. Rose, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, just like Albert said, we really appreciate the collaboration efforts with Joe Davini and Stan as well. They were very helpful and very open to our suggestions. And yeah, we appreciate their cooperation.
Okay, I'll go ahead and ask to see if there's any members of the public that would like to speak on this item. Colin, do you have anyone?
There is one request to speak.
Okay, go ahead. 2 minutes, please.
Sure, 2 minutes. The next speaker is Urvish Mehta. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Thank you very much again to the Board of Supervisors. Again, as a public speaker to the city and county as a representation, I again wanted to acknowledge Board of Supervisors for opportunity to speak within the respective agenda item. I think it is important to define what the audit is comprised of. In simple layman's language, when we talk about the audit, it comprises of 3 principles: accounting, authentication, and authorization. That's the paradigm that's been developed as a part of audit. And based upon this principle, when any measurable objectives, as what Albert has explained, I want to acknowledge the fact that when audits are being prepared, these are the basic fundamentals that needs to be incorporated. But what I think what even becomes more important is that how this agendized item, as well as the six goals, or I would say six tasks that has been defined, being incorporated to the county's financial and government operation, being overhauling the entire system. That would be very important to see, and as well as to foresee that what changes it could bring to the entire system. So again, thank you very much for consideration of comments, and looking forward to that how the audit system is being implemented.
And that concludes our request to speak.
Thank you, Colin. Really appreciate it. And I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. As well as the Chavez, do you have any questions on this item?
No, I just wanted to say I thought it was very well done, and I think it's kind of amazing actually that you do this all year long, and the biggest concerns are really focused around how we do some goal setting. So that just shows there's a lot going right in this department. So thank you both to the auditors and to the staff for being so collaborative.
Thank you, Vice Chair Chavez. And I do have a couple of questions for staff on this. So in terms of the audit findings that's been identified, so far, how has the implementation been going, and any update on that?
Well, let me begin, and then I will turn it over to Joe Davini, who is our weights and measures sealer. So I am here, Sylvia Gallegos, the Deputy County Executive, in my capacity as the acting director. And as was stated in the internal audit report, we are generally in agreement with the 4 findings and appreciate their acknowledgement of staff and the cooperation and transparency. What I would say is we have made initial efforts with respect to these 4 findings. But one of the things that I'm tasking our new SEPA director, his name is Edgar Nolasco, and he comes from the county of San Benito, will start on September 6th, is in fact to drive this effort. He's energetic, enthusiastic, and frankly, a change agent, and we're really looking forward to his arrival. I will ask Joe to expand on my initial comments with respect to specific actions we've taken to date, but I really want to caution that we're waiting for his arrival, to wrap our arms entirely around this. And we welcome the timing of this internal audit. This is perfect with having a new director on board. So, Mr. Davini?
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Lee and Supervisor Chavez and the whole auditing crew there, Albert and Robin. It was a wonderful experience I had. It was very productive and constructive. And yes, as Deputy Executive Gallegos mentioned, we took it very seriously, and we've already responded to all the 4 findings. I've already connected with our PIO and the diversity, equity, and social justice team with their language access. And yeah, we do so much. It's all behind the scenes, but I do like the way Albert presented it, that even though it's behind the scenes, it does protect every citizen here. And we do find lots of overcharges and have to do lots of re-inspections on failed devices. So yeah, everything that's been presented, we accept and are working towards. So if I have a long list of things we've already done, but I don't want to go into them unless there's specific things that you want to know about or more excited about for me to explain.
Sure. I guess the only question I really have is there are these expected completion timeline to get this all completed in terms of implementation of these audit findings. Do you think you will be able to make these deadlines?
For the most part, yes. The IT stuff that we need to replace, we're in the process there, so I'm hoping that that will be done in 2023. But as Deputy County Executive Gallegos mentioned, I do want to work with my new incoming director on the procurement piece and to make sure that all of the requirements that we need are going to be met by the vendor. I think we're on a good path forward to make it in this fiscal year. As far as the trainings, that is already, we do a ton of training, actually. We've always been great trainers. We just haven't recorded it. And as Albert mentioned, we have lots of manuals and handbooks and procedures that we use as our basis. But to gather it, to organize it, and to identify individual training needs and maybe do some refreshers, that's going to take a while, but I'm hoping that most of it will be put together in 2 months, which is, I think, close to what the recommended timeline was. As far as all the exciting things that we have planned to reach the community, engage with the different communities, the diversity of people we have in our community. We're even including like different generations of Gen Z and millennials who don't know what weights and measures is. So we want to reach them too. So we have lots of things planned. That will be ongoing, but we've already started the content to be, we're very technical, and I wanted to make it more accessible language. And then once there, the language teams will help us translate it. That will be ongoing. So I think that might be all of them. The first one, as far as our strategic plan, we've always had goals, but to write them down, I'm taking it year by year. And I think we'll be doing better to track it. As Albert mentioned, we had a very low year during COVID. We had a great deal of DSW, but we've already up ramped. We do have some vacancies, but that's normal. But I'm positive that it will be we'll be on board with all the recommendations very soon and close to the recommended time slots.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Davini. I guess the only last comment I'll make is regarding the IT upgrade to make sure they meet the security standards. That's certainly extremely important. Us being in Silicon Valley, we should not be behind on this issue. So if we could put a little more extra attention on that, I certainly appreciate it. Okay, and that's all I have. And Vice Chair Chavez, do I have a motion to receive the report?
So moved.
Okay, I'll second it and go ahead and take a vote.
Vice Chairperson Chavez.
Yes.
And Chairperson Lee.
Yes, as well. Thank you very much.
you.
All right, I think we now get to jump to item number 10. Am I correct? Let's see, which would be
Yes,
receiving a
item 10.
report. Yes, item 10 from the Social Services Agency, Department of Aging and Adult Services relating to the bi-monthly in-home supportive services call center report. And I believe we have Deborah, Mary, Lisa, and Susan. The floor is yours once again for the third time.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon, Vice President Chavez, Chairperson Lee. I'm Mary Ann Warren, the Director of the Department of Aging and Adult Services. I'm here to present on behalf of Terry Posley, who's the Manager of In-Home Supportive Services, not available today. My hope today is to show some of the progress we've made in the last few months. We're committed to improving our customer service as always, and right now we're focusing on reducing call waiting times. I'll start by showing you this first slide, which outlines our phone call data from April through June. As you can see, we typically receive around 6,000 calls a month. I don't know if you remember, but a few months back in February and March, we were up to about 8,000 per month because all of our IHSS providers were receiving pandemic pay, and there were a lot of phone calls about that. So we have the received calls, and then the column that says abandoned calls represents when callers have called and hung up before they actually reach a person. So this means they're hanging up and then calling back. So we are working on eliminating those and getting to people in a more timely manner, but we still have quite a few abandoned calls. The average wait time, we're very proud to say, has gone down from last time we met. We are down between 5.5 and 6.5 minutes. Our last report, we were at about 10 minutes, so we're very proud of that. The number of call agents we have right now is about 9 or 10 every month for these months. This is actually a little bit higher than what we usually have because we have our lobby, which is open again. It opened in September 21, and we haven't been getting a lot of lobby traffic. We generally had planned for 4 people to be waiting on people in the lobby, but since there's less traffic, we have just 2 people, and we've used the other 2 people who are designated to be lobby agents as call agents. So that's helping our numbers additionally. Then the average calls in queue, people waiting to reach a live person, we are down to 2, and we are very, very proud of that. And DSWs, we are down to just 1 DSW now, and that person is an account clerk, not a call agent. So our calls are not impacted by DSWs at this time. The pending referrals in the last column shows the current status. 313 is a little bit high for us. So we have 6 support staff who manage these pending referrals, and we get about 10 to 40 new referrals every day. The numbers were up in April. We don't know why, but we had more referrals that month, but we are working on eliminating any sort of queue for waiting them. It's important to note too that the number of referrals does not seem to be linked to the wait time on our phone calls. So next slide, please. So we have only one vacant, one person as DSW. It says all vacant filled, but happily we just have no approval for a Spanish-speaking call agent, so we are recruiting for that. And we also have a new vacant position for a Vietnamese speaking call agent. So, and the performance standards, we are working closely with TSS to develop an accurate and efficient dashboard, which will show basically the statistics I just showed, the current call waiting and number of outstanding applications. We finished phase one. That was information we galvanized from phase one. Phase two is just beginning, and we'll be using that to ensure we have enough staff appropriately covering the phones at all times. Then I also wanted to mention that we did a training. All of our call agents went to a verbal conflict de-escalation and safety training so that they can help handle calls more efficiently. By the time some people get to us, they're already agitated, and it was just a refresher for our call agents and our lobby staff to learn how to de-escalate situations and move on to the problem at hand, rather than dealing with somebody's frustration, so we can get our calls handled in a more timely manner. We're also working with our CQI, our quality improvement. Just got a new director for continuous quality improvement, and we're focusing on what more we can do at this time. The application efficiency, 313 is a little bit higher than usual. We have supporting staff who process referrals.
Something frozen here.
Yes, I think Marianne did Supervisor Lee a bit ago.
Yes, I think we might have a little technical difficulties here. Marianne, if you could hear us, just to let you know that we cannot hear you right now, and looks like your screen is frozen. So we are facing a little bit of a technical difficulties. May try to re-log on again. That might work.
Yeah.
And I see Deborah. You're
Yeah. Good afternoon, supervisors. Mary Ann has been having difficulties with her technology off and on today. I'll just continue as she was getting ready to say that they are receiving 500 to 700 referrals per month, and they are working with their team to reduce the time in processing of those, so they get directly to the assessment process of social workers being able to connect with them to handle their services. So they have 6 support staff processing the referrals, approximately 500 to 700 referrals per month. And so those 6 staff are helping to process them, but as she also noted earlier, we are working closely with TSS on methods of efficiency. And also they are working with their clients, as well, to find out from them how they can best serve them in a more efficient manner. Next slide. Okay. Okay.
I think that was pretty much it. We just
there,
so
she's
sorry
back.
about that.
That's all right.
Last slide, we just wanted to say we are constantly working to improve our services. There's always room for improvement, but we're happy with what we've done and we'll keep working on it. And we hope you're pleased with our progress so far. I'm here for any questions you may have.
Hey, thank you, Mary.
Until I get kicked out.
Yes, Vice Chair Chavez, do you have any questions, or should I open up to the public first?
The public first, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody in public would like to speak on this item?
No request to speak.
Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and I'll ask Vice Chair Chavez, any questions you might have?
I actually will defer to you, Supervisor Lee. I know this was your referral.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for the report. First question I have is, as you started to implement and talk about the phase 2, would it be possible to include some data on the reason for the calls so that if there's some type of a pattern of these calls keep coming in for the same reason, whether we might be able to preempt some of these calls by using other means to provide information either via the website or some type of a voice automated system?
Yes, we call those wrap codes, and we do have those, but they're a little inaccurate right now, so we're developing how to get them more accurately.
Okay.
And most of the reasons for the calls had been about payroll questions until we went to the electronic time cards.
Okay, good. And then in the second one, there's also the voicemail features being recommended in order to bypass the wait time. But of course, we also want to make sure that we're collecting the data as well. During the phase 2, we should also discuss capturing the number of voicemails received and the number of callbacks requested via the voicemail and how many callbacks were completed. Basically, at the end of the day, we certainly don't want people to have to leave a voicemail or put on the queue and not get called back so that they have to call back to us again, right? So I think that's the concern. If making sure that people understand that if they don't get a live person, they will be able to get a call back, not lose the queue, right? If we get that type of system in place, I think that would work.
It's like you were in the meetings. That's exactly what we're working on.
Okay, good. And then also, having mentioned this before, with the DSW is now coming back to the original positions, we should be able to increase the staffing and hopefully that would continue to decrease the wait time. Certainly from 10 to 6 or 5 minutes is a huge improvement. That's really good news. But of course, as I said previously, when we get down to 2 minutes or so, that would be even more amazing. So hopefully that's something that's doable. You think that's possible?
Working on it.
Okay, all right. And that's all the questions I have. Vice Chair Chavez?
Thank you. You asked my questions as well.
Okay, very good. If that's the case, is there a motion to accept the report?
So moved.
Okay, and I'll second, of course, and go and take the vote.
Vice Chairperson Chavez.
Yes.
And Chairperson Lee.
Yes, as well. And thank
you
you so much for the great report and update. And moving on to the next item. Thank you. I believe it's item number 12, which is receiving report from the Facilities and Fleet Department relating to energy and water audit efforts at the O'Connor Hospital, the Paul Health Center, St. Louis Regional Hospital, and Santa Clara Valley Medical Center. And here to present this item, I believe we have, is it Susanna Mercado of the Climate Change Sustainability Program Manager, Brad Vance, Utility Program Analyst, and I believe our Director of Facilities and Fleet, Jeff Draper, is here as well.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Lee. As you mentioned already, my name is Susanna Mercado, and I am the Climate Change Sustainability Program Manager in the Facilities and the Fleet Department. With me today, I do have Brad Vance, Utility Analyst, and David Berry, Chief of Facilities Planning Services.
Oh, hello, Mr. Berry. Good afternoon.
So the report before you provides an update for the energy and water audits at county hospitals currently underway. It includes a summary of the scope of work and schedule, as well as the milestones achieved. The study will identify energy and water recommendations for a total of 35 buildings, totaling approximately 3.2 million square feet. We will also assess 7 parking lot areas and 4 central plant facilities within the hospital campuses. The hospitals included in the scope are O'Connor Medical Center, St. Louis Regional Hospital, DePaul, and Valley Medical Center at Bascom. Given the scope and operation of these facilities, the study is anticipated to take about 5 months. We are on schedule and plan on coming back to you with the recommendations at the start of the new year. We are here today to address any questions that you may have.
Okay, very good. First of all, let's see, is anybody in the public would like to speak on this item?
No request to speak.
Okay, close the public hearing. Supervisor Chavez, do you have any questions on this, please?
I do not.
Okay, all right. I have a couple of questions and would like to provide some further direction. First of all, I'd like to thank for all your continuing work to get this ball rolling of a very important project to me. And thank for all the questions you have answered that my staff has on my behalf. And I would like to also request that if you could return to the FGOC next year in February 2023 with a follow-up report so that we could be provided a presentation on the findings of the investment grade audit report. Is that workable?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. As we know, the issue of with climate change and all the drought that we're in right now, and also all the extreme high costs for energy recently, we certainly need to do a better job of finding ways to save water, save resources. So I really think that this work is so important, especially some of our buildings. We mentioned 350 buildings, quite a few of them are pretty old. So I'm sure that we'll be able to find ways to find out the leaks, and hopefully we could save resources for the county. And of course, green also means not just for the environment, but you save green means save money too, right? So thank you. All right, and is there a motion to accept the report?
So moved.
And I'll second that as well. Let's go and take the vote.
Vice Chairperson Chavez.
Yes.
And Chairperson Lee.
Yes, as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And all right, and then moving on, we have item number 13, which is receiving report from Facilities and Fleet Department and the Office of Asset and Economic Development relating to the status of environmental analysis of the removal of the former San Jose City Hall. And I believe we have, is that Mr. Berry? Yeah, Mr. Dave Berry,
Yes.
the Chief of Facilities Planning, presented. Go ahead.
Thank you for the introduction, Supervisor. Again, Dave Barry with FAF. Also joining me today are Emily Chen, Senior Planner with FAF, and also she's on a guest speaker line, Liz Ann Reynolds from County Council. As per the report that we gave, we went to the HHC in June, and we are currently working on response to comments from PAC-SJ and other participants at that meeting, and hope to bring the full EIR and those responses back to the full board in the fall. The report misstates, we said September, we actually said elsewhere in the report we meant the fall, because we don't have precisely know when we'll be done with our responses to PAC-SJ and the other members of the community who responded at the HHC meeting in June. And with that, we're all happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. So as a Chavez, should I check with the public first?
Yes, please.
Yes, anybody in public would like to speak on this item? Please go and raise your hand.
You have one request to speak.
Okay, please go ahead for 2 minutes.
Sure, 2 minutes. The next speaker is Ben Leach. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Thank you. Good afternoon, supervisors, staff, Mr. Berry, Ms. Chen. I am the Executive Director of Preservation Action Council of San Jose. As Mr. Berry mentioned, our organization and a number of other organizations have been following this proposal very closely for a number of years through the EIR process, through the HHC meeting. And I was really just tuning in for a timing update on when we will be expected to discuss this at the Board of Supervisors, which I think should be as robust a discussion as possible. We appreciate the outreach that's gone in to the project thus far, but we do feel that it really, truly merits significant analysis by the public and a chance to participate. So knowing that it's coming up in the fall, just a request that as much information as we can get to help put the word out. We do really believe that this is a matter of more broad-based public concern than it has been given to this point. This is a building that is a very significant historic landmark. and it is one of the buildings that we feel is the most threatened in the city. And so we understand that it demands a lot of attention by the Board of Supervisors to weigh the pros and cons of the fate of the building. And we just hope that we have enough forewarning that conversation can be as inclusive as possible. Thank you.
And that concludes our request to speak.
Thank you. I'm going to close the public hearing. Supervisor Chavez, please.
Thank you. So maybe I'll just ask, David, could you respond to Ben's comments relative to the community outreach in the next, I think what he's saying is, what are we doing to let the whole world know that this could be demolished?
Yeah, as we have been doing all along, we've actually been proactive in reaching out to people such as Ben and PAC-SJ and other organizations who have already expressed an interest in this project, in the Civic Center in general as well. And we continue to do so. We also have our project website, which we keep updated with the latest information, including the EIR documents. We have been, like I said, proactively reaching out to people who have expressed an interest in the past.
So, David, may I make a request? And that is, and I don't know if Ben's still on, but what I would like to request is that if PAC-SJ has specific recommendations about how to do the outreach, I think that's very important. And in addition, I know we're reaching out to groups and individuals who've had a concern from a historic perspective, but I'm also presuming that we're reaching out to the surrounding neighborhoods within a certain number of feet of the facilities. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is. We've been keeping a stakeholder outreach list for a number of years now for all projects involving the Civic Center area, including such organizations as the Hyde Park Neighborhood Association, Japantown Neighborhood Association, and various individuals who own properties or live nearby.
Thank you. And David, the part of the way we're doing that is we're sending mail, I presume, or postcards directly to, whatever it is. I can't remember, is it 1,000 feet or 3,000 feet or quarter mile?
Yeah, it's usually, I think it's normally 500 feet, but I think we doubled that because the county owns so much property. If you take, from the middle of the property, so many of the nearby property owners are the county. So we did increase that. We have not sent out physical letters. Most recently, we have been relying on email, electronic correspondence with folks, including the websites. And through that, we've been able to reach everyone who's come out so far with interest in this project.
And Dave, what I'm really interested in making sure of is that we do the old traditional, old-fashioned postcards just to the neighbors. We want to not surprise anyone. And then the other is that as it relates to when this comes before the board, I think it's going to be really important to walk through the options that were considered in great detail about this particular building, and in a deeper dive into the staff's assessment of why, how your recommendations are informed by the EIR and the research process. And Supervisor Lee, I will just confess that that I have long been concerned about the destruction of the building, in particular the curvature of the front face of the building, and have had a concern that that we look for every opportunity to reuse. And it's an old belief that I have about San Jose as it was growing, just losing so many historic assets and resources, and having done that sort of willy-nilly, that now we end up with fewer historic resources than we had in the past. And so the analysis of this is important to me for a lot of reasons. The other I'll just share with my colleagues is that I think I was the only no vote about moving City Hall to the downtown location it's in now. In part, I wanted the county and the city to stay connected to each other physically. I thought it would actually be better for service provision. But the other is that I've always imagined that downtown needed to get bigger instead of kind of more compact and smaller. And then, lastly, there are a number of folks, particularly some of them who passed away, including Al Rufo, who really begged us to preserve the building, in part because of the architecture and then the activities that happened within that old city hall. So Dave, I'm sure you'll have an opportunity for Ben to give you a little more ideas and, about how we make sure we do that robust outreach that he's requesting. And I do appreciate and acknowledge that he acknowledged, Dave, that you all and the staff have been open to having conversations with them. But I think what he's really saying is, let's make sure we inform the public that this building could be leveled, and that we're not surprising San Jose with that, even though I know Mike Wasserman wants to go out there with a backhoe himself, as he's made clear to me on many occasions. So in any case, let's make sure we do that outreach. And Supervisor Lee, I just wanted to sunshine for you what my concerns are.
Thank you, Supervisor Chavez. Yeah, certainly there's a lot of history, decades of histories, and many very important decisions for the city of San Jose were taking place right there in the building. So certainly it's very significant historically in that sense. Yes, thank you. All right, and is there a motion to accept the report?
Yes, I will accept the report with the request for outreach and the manner in which this is presented to the full board.
Okay, and I'll certainly second that. Let's go take the vote.
We do have a late request for speakers.
Okay. All right, let's go and open up one more time for public speaking for 2 minutes.
All right, the final speaker is Jim Reynolds. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute. You will have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Thank you. I actually have a point of information on the agenda for today. You have item number 11, which is a report by the procurement department. And I may have missed it, but was this section skipped over or deferred?
Yes, it actually was being discussed in the consent. That was on the consent calendar. So that was accepted and passed during the earlier part of this meeting today. For item 11.
Sorry. And that concludes our request to speak.
Okay, thank you. I'll go and close the public hearing and let's go take a vote.
Vice Chairperson Chavez.
Yes.
And Chairperson Lee.
Yes, as well.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe we are now on to item number 14, which is to receive a report from the Office of County Executive and the Facilities and Fleet Department relating to status of Fairgrounds master planning process. And to present, I believe we have Glenn Williams, our Asset Development Manager. Good afternoon, Glenn.
Good afternoon, Chairman Lee and Vice Chairperson Chavez. Yes, this is the monthly report to FGOC on the status of the planning for the county fairgrounds. I can either give you a short presentation or simply open it up to questions as you would wish. Do you have a preference?
I really don't. Vice Chair Chavez, do you have a preference? Whether you want a short presentation or just go straight to questioning?
I think a short presentation would be fine.
Okay, let's go and do that then. Go ahead.
Okay, let me see if this works. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we definitely do, yes.
Thank you very much. There are basically 5 components to the report on the fairgrounds. We have 3 ENAs that are in progress. Parks is doing some planning for the open space and recreational opportunities for the fairgrounds. And then there's the report that Supervisor Lee requested on other fairgrounds activities. For the San Jose State University Speed City and Olympic Project for Human Rights, the development that's taken place since the last meeting and the last report is that we've heard word as recently as yesterday that Santa Clara County did receive $4 million in the State Budget Act for this purpose. We've not yet clarified why it was made to Santa Clara County as opposed to San Jose State University. We will be pursuing that going forward. We also need to have a discussion then with San Jose State University as to next steps, since there is only $4 million in evidence, and they had indicated that this would be a $25 million project. For the San Jose earthquakes, there's been an appraisal received, which was required that the county produce. That will be going to full board in closed session. American Cricket, we're in the process of expanding on a parking financial survey to add an additional component to Desmond's study that will attempt to advise us relative to any available surface parking opportunities that we have to complement any parking structures, and also to see if there are opportunities for us in interim process to do shuttle service to adjoining parking lots. Parks has completed the selection process for a parks planning firm, and they're currently finalizing their research and the consultant contract. And then another Fairgrounds activity is the two major developments are that the county did in fact hold a successful limited 2022 county fair for the 4-H and FFA members in order to show their animals. Of course, as you were well aware, County Fairgrounds is still overwhelmingly used for testing and vaccinations, and is expected to continue that through the rest of the year. The other significant development is that the Office of Supportive Housing has released the Gateway building, which they were occupying, and released that back to FMC for its use. And they placed the occupants of that building then in other facilities around the county. And with that, we need to return. And I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Let's see. Supervisor, should I check the public first?
Yes, please.
Okay, anybody in public would like to speak on this topic? Please raise your hand.
We do have a request to speak.
There's no one?
There is a request to speak, yes.
One. Okay, all right. Let's set for 2 minutes. Thank you.
All right, the next speaker is Urvish Mehta. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute. You will have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Thank you very much to Board of Supervisors again. I think I wanted to acknowledge the fact about what Fairground Management's future planning about the American Cricket Enterprise, as well as the development of the recreational facility around within the county of Santa Clara. However, along with the planning of the master planning process, I think it is important to evaluate that what are the different diversification that could be added such that any recreational or sports facilities that is being developed in accordance with what other diversified community development is out there within the county of Santa Clara. I want to give an example about the Atlanta Cricket Association. Within the county of Fulton, there are 7 cricket grounds, fields within the county of Fulton and the city of Atlanta. So I wanted to acknowledge the fact about that, when developing such American Cricket Enterprise Stadium, what value it would bring to the county of Santa Clara. It is equally important to note that what exactly the procurement is required for the county of Santa Clara, whether it needs entertainment facility, whether it needs a sports facility, whether it needs a Hollywood bowl, or whether it needs a drive-in cinema theater. I think each and every project would add a value to it, but what important it brings to the County of Santa Clara that enhances the significance of County of Santa Clara, that will be eventually be important. So I wanted to acknowledge the fact about what Glenn has mentioned about American Cricket Enterprise, but also I wanted to mention about the evolving the master planning process for the fairgrounds in increasing the significance of County of Santa Clara. Thank you very much for consideration. Thanks.
And that concludes our request to speak.
Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Vice Chair Chavez, any questions you have?
Just a couple of observations that I would like to make. And this really would be a request to Dr. Smith. And that is that because we're going to be hearing at least one of these items in closed session, I'll not ask questions relative to any particular project, but make an observation. My observation is that a request I would like to make is that we have through your office, make sure that we have all of the parties at the next FGOC meeting to present where we are, so that we might more fully ask questions of the timelines and the all the phases of work that are going on. So having parks, obviously Glenn, the Abe from the Fairgrounds, and any other partner that is doing work on this, because I think it's time for us to do a deep dive into where we are, given the number of projects that are potentially before us. I don't know, is Dr. Smith here? I'm sorry, there's so many squares.
Yeah, I'm here.
Dr. Smith, does that make sense to do at our next meeting?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you. And then second, just something I wanted to address is that the project, the track and the project for human rights, part of the reason that, I did have a chance both to work with San Jose State when this came before us, and to work with the Assembly Member Clara, and I'm very grateful that he got us started on that $4 million. He has given us some strategies about where we can raise more money, and we've spoken to San Jose State as well to look at what more they can invest. And then the other question, and part of the reason I want to have a full presentation, is I'm very interested in what are the parks investments that are possible on this site, because I think it would help us answer, Glenn, the question that you're raising about how do you put the pieces together. I believe that the reason the resource came to the county was that the proposal really focused on the partnership between the county and San Jose State University. I think if we need to remedy that at a later time, Assemblymember Caldwell will assist us in doing so. So with that, Supervisor Lee, I know you had some additional questions. Just want to say how much I appreciate the staff working to keep moving this forward. I think we're getting there very slowly, but I'm very excited about the fact that we're moving. You are on mute, Supervisor.
Sorry about that. Yes, thank you very much. Muted myself. Glenn, yes, so thank you very much for the report. I think this is very helpful because obviously there's so many things that's happening regarding the soccer fields and potentially stadium of the crickets as well, and also the associated parking. In terms of timeline wise, when do you think you'll be coming in, providing us maybe a next update on these exciting developments?
As they happen, and to some extent, that's less than fully predictable. I'm assuming that in this case, we had almost 2 months between reports. And so, as you noted, there were significant developments across the board. As you also pointed out, as Supervisor Chavez pointed out, things do move slowly.
I don't want them to, so I'm not.
I do understand that. Thank you, Supervisor. But in terms of when will we report back, I'm assuming that the next meeting there will be developments to take place between now and September.
Okay, very good.
And Supervisor Lee, let me just say that part of the action I'd like us to take is that we're asking for this report back to come back next meeting with an update from each of our contractors and Abe Andrade to walk us through where we are in the process in real time for each project and each study that's being undertaken, and to better understand what resources we may want to be looking at relative to the parks investment, as long as it isn't part of negotiations that are better suited in closed session. That would be my motion.
Okay, I'll definitely support and second that. All right, and if there's no more comments, I'll just go and ask to take the vote.
Vice Chairperson Chavez.
Yes.
And Chairperson Lee.
Yes, as well. Thank you very much, Glenn. Thank you. So I'll see you next month. Looking forward to the report. And I believe we're coming close to the, let's see, the bottom of our agenda. So I believe, am I correct, Colin? For adjournment?
That is all the discussion items that remained.
Okay, very good. So right now, I guess we move to the adjournment to our next regular meeting on Thursday, September 15, 2022 at 2 p.m. And so thank you very much for everybody, and have a nice evening. Good night.
Thank you, Supervisor Lee, and thank you, staff. And I know this was Miguel's last meeting, and I think he was the first to jump off. So say happy last FGOC to Miguel. Thanks all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Recording stopped.